Welcome back to the Oscar Project Podcast, the show where I discuss Oscar-nominated films year by year. I am your host, Jonathan Eaterberg, and today is the third episode of my preview to the 97th Academy Awards. I'm joined today by Brandon McMurray from the website Shortstick, and we will be discussing the three short film categories. If you've missed either of the first two episodes this week, you can find them in this feed, and don't forget to leave a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify to help more movie lovers find the show. Brandon, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan. I'm really excited to be here.
Before we get into these short film categories, tell me a little bit more about your website, Shortstick Films, and what you do there.
Yeah, so Shortstick's kind of a passion project. Me and three friends started about two years ago now to the date almost. And yeah, we just kind of noticed that there's not much of coverage for shorts around, especially around the Oscar time and whatnot. I know you do a great job covering the shorts, and we love to see that, and that's awesome. And but just like predictions wise, voting wise, everything that they were kind of under talked about, undercovered, and not given their due, because there's some really great choices that we'll discuss here today. But yeah, just wanting to kind of follow the festival season throughout the year and kind of make predictions on what's making the short lists for shorts, and to kind of be a voice in that space. So yeah, we just kind of started up the website on a whim, and I've been going ever since. It's been fun covering a lot of short film festivals and kind of following the Oscar season as far as shorts goes from beginning to end.
That's awesome. Shedding some light on that undercovered area. I think that's really important.
Yeah, thanks.
So the first category we're covering today is Best Animated Short Film. And we've got 5 nominees, including Beautiful Men, In the Shadow of the Cypress, Magic, Candies, Wander to Wonder, and Yuck. So what were your first thoughts on some of these movies as you watched them throughout the year?
Yeah, so I saw a couple of these about a year ago at Regard Film Festival. I think 3 of these, Yuck and Wonder to Wander, definitely played there, maybe even Beautiful Men. So they've did really well in the festival circuit. So I wasn't surprised to see them make a nomination. Same with In the Shadow of the Cypress, did really well. It played Tribeca and won there. So yeah, I think like I'm really excited that the animation branch in the Academy, I think, just did an incredible job picking these 5, because they're all very different. And lots of people, I've kind of been seeing what people are saying about them, and like it seems that each of these 5 shorts have their like people that are like, yes, I want this to win. There's not one that's left out of the bunch, and yeah, it's a really exciting category to me.
Yeah, I think it's some really excellent choices. I was fortunate enough to actually have seen all of them. I don't think in the past years I've been able to see them all before the awards, but this year I have been able to see all of them. I absolutely love In the Shadow of the Cypress, the animation style in that film. It reminds me a little bit of from a couple of years ago. I'm trying to think of the title. It was Ice Merchants, I think it was.
Oh yeah.
Reminded me very much of that. I really liked that film, and I like the style of this one as well. I like that we got 2 stop motion animated in Beautiful Men and Wander to Wonder. My personal favorite of the whole bunch is Wander to Wonder.
Same.
I love the fact that it's pretty dark. I mean, it goes places you wouldn't expect a film that starts off the way it does to go. And I really appreciated that it kind of went for it in those respects. But yeah, I agree. I think the whole bunch is pretty strong. If I had to say my least favorite, I would probably say Magic Candies is my least favorite. It's the one I just really didn't connect with really at all. But yeah, I think overall some really unique entries in this category this year.
Yeah, that's what I love about this category. It brings in so many different styles. Like
Yeah.
the In the Shadow of the Cypress just has an amazing color palette to it. Like it's just a beautiful watch, and important story too. And I've been sad to hear over the last week that the filmmakers have not been granted visas to get
Ugh.
to the awards for this one, and celebrate this Oscar nomination, because I think it's very deserving, and they should be there to celebrate it. But yeah, you have like kind of a more 2D animation with that, but then you have like claymation with Magic Candies. You have stop motion, as you mentioned, with Wonder to Wander and Beautiful Men. You have Yuck, which has like this kind of beautiful glowing
Yeah.
animation.
Yeah, literally glowing throughout.
And it's just neat to see the different devices that these filmmakers are using to animate their shorts.
No, I think that is really cool, and It's also interesting to me that we don't have, and this is, I think, several years in a row now where we haven't had any of the kind of what we always think of as the shorts, those shorts that would appear in the front of the Pixar movies that always seem to get nominated 10, 15, 20 years ago. While I like some of those, I think that some of those have been deserved nominees and winners in some cases. I also like seeing this category branch out and get away from kind of the commercially successful shorts, if you will, if there is such a thing as a commercially successful short.
Yeah, no, but there definitely is. Like, I know Disney this year was pushing an Almost Christmas Story, which Alfonso Cuarón was the producer on, and it's had David Lowery as a director, and it didn't end up making the short list, which was a bit of a shocker because it had all that support behind it. But that the animation branch, I think, was definitely sure to pick the best here. And I think like there's a couple others that I really love from the short list that I would have been happy to see in there too. But, I think they picked a very deserving 5 to make it onto the nominations.
Yeah, agreed. Well, we can continue on into the best live action shorts. The
Mhm.
nominees there are Alien, Anuja, I'm Not a Robot, The Last Ranger, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent. And I have to admit that I'm a little bit biased towards a few of these, as I was able to interview some of the directors for Anuja, I'm Not a Robot, and The Man Who Could Not Remain Silent on the podcast. So while I like all of these films, I'm obviously a little bit biased towards those three, just because I've gotten a little bit more behind the scenes on those films, which is fun.
Yeah, for sure, that always helps to, hear a director's opinion on why they chose to do certain things and, yeah, kind of, get that background information on the shorts. But, yeah, another, great group of 5, and I think, like, each of them really excels at different things. I was kind of thinking today that Lien or Alien have, like, it's kind of a pun, title there, but it's I think has probably the most relevant topic politically right
Yeah.
now with the ICE and agents and deportation and immigration and all that kind of stuff. And I think Anuja is definitely has the most support behind it. It's also a great story, and it has Netflix distributing it. It has Kaling and Priyanka Chopra as producers on it, so that's big. I think I'm Not a Robot probably is the best of the bunch conceptually. Like it's so much so it's being made into a feature film in the coming years,
Yep.
and it just has such a great concept to it. And, The Man Who Cannot Remain Silent, I think is probably the best crafted of them, like the cinematography, the acting, like the production design, everything coming together, the lighting in it. It's just completely perfect when it comes to all those things. And then the last range, I think, is probably the easiest to emotionally connect to for most people with the story of animals and the poaching and everything. So it's got a great story to it. So I think like they all have their pros to it, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see which one comes up on top there.
Yeah, I actually was just able to check out Last Ranger earlier today, as a matter of fact, to finish out this category, and I was very moved by that. Not just the story of the poaching, but the kind of the family dynamic that that film shows,
Right.
and that not everything's perfect in a lot of families. Which, and you're saying about Alien being the most kind of relevant for the current times that we're in, and watching that recently, I was like, did they make this in the last 2 months, or did they make this 2 years ago? It literally felt like something that was ripped from the headlines, which is sad, but also obviously very, very poignant for what's going on today.
That gives it a chance to push it over
Right.
the edge. Like I could honestly see any of these winning, but I think like if the voters are kind of voting for what feels most relevant right now, I think a lot of them will be selecting that. But like I said, all 5 of these have a really good shot, really good story to them, and all have their pros.
Yeah, and just going back to I'm Not a Robot as well, you're saying kind of the most original storyline. I absolutely agree with that 100%. And I forget who, if I saw somewhere not too long ago an article that was kind of lauding that as the only one of this bunch that's not a story about, trying to make a statement about something, not necessarily politically, but obviously you've got somewhat political aspects or cause type films in the other four, and that's the only one kind of the bunch that's a little bit more lighthearted, although it does again skew kind of dark towards the second half of the film.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm Not a Robot is a lot of fun if people are just kind of looking for something where they don't have to like think too much, and they can really like enjoy a thrilling storyline, like and not have to worry about political issues or issues with it. I think like a lot of people will kind of tend towards that.
Yeah, no, it's a hard category to handicap this year, and then like you said, I think any one of these would be a valid winner in the categories. It's interesting to see who will ultimately take home the prize.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our final category, Best Documentary Short Film. The nominees here are Death by Numbers, I Am Ready Warden, Incident, Instruments of a Beating Heart, and The Only Girl in the Orchestra. And this one, we've got a couple, three that are really hard hitting and heavy, and two that are a little bit more lighthearted and easier watches. I was kind of looking through the last several years of nominees and winners just to kind of get a sense for what's been getting recognition in the last couple of years. And I feel like we've had several winners in this category that are a little bit more lighthearted or inspirational, and I feel like this is the year where it's going to be one of the kind of heavy hitting documentary subjects that wins. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I personally found it a bit harder to relate to a couple of them not being American, and kind of not being in that political space at all. But yeah, I think it's a good group. I have no clue. Again, like this year is going to be insanely hard to predict. Like I found the last couple of years, there's always like one that's out a front runner, and it doesn't feel that way at all in any of the categories this year. It could go to anybody, but I think my personal favorite would be Incident. I just think it's so groundbreaking as a documentary in the way that it uses body cam footage from police, like street camera footage, and kind of like the editing in it is just unreal in order to create the narrative and the very like show not tell about what's happening, and
Yeah,
like you can kind of see that in front of you. But I also was a really big fan of Instruments of a Beating Heart. I thought it was a cute story, but kind of showed a lot of what's like happening, what happens day to day in a like Japanese school, which I found very interesting. So I Am Ready Warden and Death by Numbers are definitely one of those kind of like harder hitting ones that you're talking about. And yeah, just being in Canada, the issues I was a bit disconnected from,
sure.
but I think they're both very well made.
I absolutely agree with what you're talking about with Incident and bringing up the editing, and then there's several instances in that where I think there's at least 3 or 4 simultaneous images going on the screen from various different angles, and so well edited. I do think that that's the front runner. If I had to pick a kind of a dark horse, I would probably say Death by Numbers, just again because that whole thing with covering school shootings, they keep coming and they keep happening, so it's something that's always on people's mind. And I think this one, it presents that survivor's story in a very interesting way, but we also get to see some of that courtroom footage, and digs a little bit into the psyche of the shooter himself, which obviously we've gotten in various, Dateline specials and things like that with other instances, but I think this one was very well done. For me, I've a longtime musician. I'm a percussionist by training, so Instruments of a Beating Heart kind of hit home for me as well. And I also loved Only Girl in the Orchestra. I thought it's hard to root against Orrin O'Brien, who's the woman that they cover in that. It's
Yeah,
that was such a, I mean, it feels like if you watch them in the order I read them, with Only Girl in the Orchestra last, that would be a nice palate cleanser from these other stories.
yeah, she's great as a subject, and I thought that was a really good one as well. So
Yeah. And I was actually just looking up too that her parents were actors. So it's like she's this groundbreaker in terms of being the first woman in the New York Philharmonic, I believe it was. But she's from a line, from a family that was successful in the arts as well. And obviously it's her, I think her niece or granddaughter, somebody who made the film. So there's
yeah,
there's a
that's
lot
certainly
of
yeah.
artistic blood in that family, which is really nice.
I also to know, I think Instruments of a Beating Heart might get a bit of a bump because the director Emma Ryan Yamazaki also is editor on Black Box Diaries, which made feature, so she can kind of overlap her campaigning with that and kind of use that as a stepping stool up as well, which is great for her, and it would be a very worthy winner as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens in this category because I do think Instance probably the front runner. I think people watching that, they're like, I haven't seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And that's always like a unique thing to like kind of draw in voters to your issue.
Yep, absolutely. Well, before I let you go, we've covered the shorts categories, but I wanted to see what your pick for Best Picture is for this year. Who do you think should win, and who do you think will win for Best Picture?
I think it's pretty similar actually. Like I really loved Anora. I saw it at the premiere at TIFF for the Canadian premiere, and I thought it was great. I'm also a big fan of Dune 2 and Nickel Boys, but Anora seems to be have been doing really well in the precursors as of late. So I think everything's trending towards that. So I think it'll do really well on a ranked choice ballot as well. So I think that's. But I'm also like a big Dune guy, and being Canadian and Denis being the director, I'm like Denis needs to get in that director category, needs to get some wins there. He does an incredible job with that franchise. I just thought Nickel Boys is really great. The cinematography on it is unreal, and I thought it was cool perspectives and everything. So yeah, I would want it to be one of those three, but I think Anora is going to squeak it out. But yeah, we'll see. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm saving. I have a full episode on all the best pictures coming out later this
Oh,
week.
there you go. All
So
right.
we'll save my final notes for that. But I'm definitely leaning towards Anora. I'd love to see Denis get it for Dune as well, because I think those two films have been fantastic. I don't think he's going to get it for a sci-fi
Oh,
epic like that.
absolutely.
He's going to get it for something else down
I'm
the
not
road.
predicting that at all. The kind of Canadian Homer in me is like, I want Denis to win this, but yeah, it's I think it's probably at this point between kind of Nora the Brutalist and maybe Conclave with the after, but I'm sure it'll be one of those three. But I follow it, but not probably as closely as you do. So
Fantastic. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talk about the shorts this year. Remind listeners one more time where they can find your work.
yeah, you can go to our website, www.shortstickfilms.com. You can visit us there, and we have our links to our Instagram and everything. That's pretty much the only social media we're on right now. But yeah, you can also just search up Short Stick Films on Instagram. And yeah,
Fantastic. And don't forget to follow the Oscar Project at theoscarproject.substack.com. And if you're listening to this prior to the 97th Academy Awards, you still have time to enter my Oscar prediction contest. Head over to my Substack page and submit your guesses before the ceremony on Sunday. I'll be back with another preview episode tomorrow, where Kevin Pettit and I will talk through the acting, screenplay categories, as well as Best Director. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you at the movies.